Week 5 of the fantasy football season, and here's the top 15 quarterbacks. I'm ranking this week. The first guy, Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. I know last week wasn't a good week for Patrick Mahomes in terms of fantasy points, but he still went out there and competed versus the New York Jets, and he made big plays when the Chiefs needed it in crucial parts of the game. So this week here, what a good matchup going to the Minnesota Vikings that we know is one of the worst defenses in the league here. I think Mahomes gets back on track in this one. So far, he's had a solid fantasy season, but not obviously that huge 35, 40-point fantasy day. But this week with a good matchup versus Minnesota, where their defense isn't even close to the type of the New York Jets is. I think he gets back on track. That's a big one. Number 2, Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. So Josh Allen, after a bad week 1 versus that Jet defense I just mentioned, the last 3 weeks he's gone out there and put on huge numbers and been the best quarterback in fantasy football all the time. So Josh Allen coming off a 5-touchdown game last week in the blowout victory versus the Dolphins. This week here in London versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, which it's like the Jaguars' second home, even though this is counted as a home game here for Allen and the Bills. I think he rolls on this defense. This Jaguar offense, they've had problems this season. I think this defense of Buffalo could put Josh Allen in this offense in good situations. So right now, him and Stephon Diggs, they're playing at a high level. Diggs with 3 touchdowns last week. Gabe Davis with a touchdown the last 2 weeks. And right now, once again, I think Allen puts on a good one. And I got him at 2. Number 3, Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins at 2. He's been one of the better quarterbacks so far this season. And last week, it was just a throwaway game where nothing went right after the second quarter of that one for this Miami Dolphin team. So right now, Tua's got great weapons. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, which they got to get him going over there, is this Miami Dolphin team. Devon A-Chain out of the backfield. Durham Smythe working into the offense a little more. And even Braxton Berrios is a slot guy. So right now, a lot of speed on this offense over there in Miami. And this week, a very good matchup versus the New York Giants that can't stop anyone defensively. We saw Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf have pretty solid games in week 4. And this week here, I think Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill both have good games. And it wouldn't be surprising me if Tua puts up 30-plus fantasy points this week. Number 4, Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts, last couple weeks, he's starting to get things going now. A.J. Brown coming off a fantasy game, 35-plus fantasy points in PPR leagues. Him and Brown are on the same page once again in Philadelphia after Brown and Hurts had a little disagreement a few weeks ago on Thursday Night Football. And right now, it's a good matchup with the Rams, where their defense just got torched by rookie Anthony Richardson, where they were up 23-0 and blew that lead, but won in overtime. But anyway, Jalen Hurts, we know he's a top 3, top 2 quarterback drafted in most fantasy leagues. And this week here in an indoor ball game with a mediocre Ram defense, I think Hurts has a good one once again. And I got him at 4 with everyone on the same page. Number 5, Lamar Jackson. More Ravens. So Lamar Jackson, I know he's had a couple ball games where he didn't throw the football well, but the running ability of Jackson and him finding the end zone the last few weeks has been really good with 6 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks here for Lamar. So last week, 4 touchdowns, 2 passing, 2 rushing. Him and Mark Andrews, they got the rapport back in last week's game in the blowout victory over the Cleveland Browns. And I think that's going to be the recipe for success for Lamar and this team. Get Mark Andrews involved early and often, and then working guys like Zay Flowers, Nelson Aguilar, with Beckham and possibly Bateman out again in this game. So right now, while Lamar has been playing pretty good football, and he is an MVP candidate, I believe, this season. I know it's a tough matchup at the Steelers, but a division game, Lamar just has to rely on Mark Andrews more in this one, I think. And I got him at 5. Number 6, Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings. So Kirk Cousins, 3 out of 4 games, he's been great so far in fantasy football. And this week, if you want to keep points on the board with this Kansas City Chiefs team, they got to put it up early and often, and they're going to go for a lot of plays in this one. So Justin Jefferson's having a great year. TJ Hawkinson having a great year. Jordan Addison, the rookie wide receiver, we've seen some pop games out of him in the early going. And right now, I think this week here, Kirk Cousins, once again, in a game where they know they got to put up at least 27, 30 points in this one, is this Minnesota Viking team. And right now, they're 1-3 on the season here. This game is going to be tough to win for them, no doubt about it. But like I said, Kirk Cousins knows this offensive well, but the only problems with Cousins has been the turnovers this season. But right now, he's one of the top quarterbacks in fantasy points, and he's definitely a quarterback I would have at 6 this week. Number 7, Anthony Richardson, Indianapolis Colts. So this might be a little high for Anthony Richardson, but the games he's played this season, he's put up fantasy points. Week 1, he had over 20 fantasy points. Week 2, we got off to that roaring start in that one versus the Texans before he left with a concussion. Then week 3, he missed that one. And then week 4, they were down 23-0 versus the Los Angeles Rams, and he roared back in that one with over 30 fantasy points. So Richardson, this kid's got great talent. He's got a big arm, and he's got legs as well where he can rush for 50, 60 yards per game. So this week here, in a matchup versus the Tennessee Titans, where this Titan team, they're good against the run, where they're going to force Richardson and this Colt team to pass a lot. I think he has a good one. Good news is Jonathan Taylor possibly could be back in this ball game as well, even though I'm not 100% sure, in my opinion, it's going to happen. But with his running ability, with a good matchup and a few decent quarterbacks on bye this week here, Anthony Richardson jumping up the ranking board, and I got him at 7. Number 8, Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals. So Joe Burrow, I know it's been a struggle all season for him, and obviously he's not 100% with the calf injury here, is Joe Burrow. But this week here, he's got a pretty decent matchup, in my opinion, at the Arizona Cardinals, where they've got torched by a lot of throwers of the football. Brock Purdy last week, a great game, even though he didn't throw for a lot of touchdowns in that one. Dak Prescott, I know he didn't have a good game, but Daniel Jones in week 2 had a great ball game as well with this Arizona Cardinal team. And even in week 1, Sam Howell looked good. So right now, this week here, Joe Burrow, obviously not 100%. A lot of criticism after getting blown out 27-3 versus the Titans in last week's ball game. But right now, I think this is a game where they're going to force feed Jamar Chase, get him in motion. And Chase, he wasn't happy at all after that game. I know T. Higgins as well banged up with a rib injury, and we don't know for sure if he's going to play in this one. But right now, well, a lot of people are down on Joe Burrow, and then a lot of people have doubted him on and off throughout his career. I think this week here, they right the ship a little bit, is Cincinnati, and I think Burrow could bounce his ball game with a good one at Arizona. And I got him at 8. Number 9, Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears. So Justin Fields, last week, he finally had a monster ball game, over 300 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. So Fields and DJ Moore, they've been on the same page the whole season so far, with Moore with 3 touchdowns on the year and 2 ball games going over 100 yards this season. And Cole Kmet had his breakout game as well this year, 85 yards and 2 touchdowns in that one. So right now, if he could get those weapons going and a good matchup here at the Commanders, where I think he can make some plays and get this team going. Justin Fields here on Thursday Night Football, he's definitely a quarterback that's going to go out there and make plays for this team. The thing is, I want to see him run the football a little bit more. His running yards haven't been great so far this season, as Justin Fields. So this week here, Thursday Night Football, these games are usually high scoring. I think Fields goes out there and has a nice one this week. Number 10, Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions. So Jared Goff, so far this season, he's been a pretty solid quarterback. I know the last couple games he's turned it over a little bit here, but he's got good weapons. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jameson Williams should be back in the lineup possibly this week as well with the suspension reduced. Josh Reynolds, he's been solid. And the tight end, Sam Laporta, having a rookie season so far as well. So right now, a lot of decent weapons here around Jared Goff. Great matchup versus the Carolina Panthers, one of the weaker secondaries in the league, especially with J.C. Horn out for a while now. And Jared Goff with these weapons should cook, especially at home, where he's far better fantasy-wise at home as Jared Goff than he is at the road. So with all those factors, I think he's a solid top 10 quarterback, and I got him at 10. Number 11, Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love last week, he got off to a horrible start where it looked like he wasn't going to do anything at all, but he tried to get his team back into the ball game. He made some plays. He finished up with 19 fantasy points. And now Christian Watson came back last week, found the end zone. Him and Romeo Doubs have had a great rapport over the first few weeks of the season. And this kid has poise, and he never gives in as well. He can make plays as Jordan Love. So this week here, indoor ball game, which is always a plus at the Vegas Raiders Monday Night Football. I think Love goes out there versus a mediocre defense, makes some plays, and puts in a decent fantasy performance. And I got him in 11. Number 12, C.J. Stroud of the Houston Texans. So C.J. Stroud quickly moving up the ranking boards as well. A guy that wasn't drafted pretty much in 95% of fantasy leagues coming into the season. The guy's taken the league by storm over the last few weeks. He's amongst the league leaders in passing yards as C.J. Stroud. And for a young rookie quarterback, he's got good poise back there in the pocket, takes his time, makes his reads, and he's making all the right throws, not throwing an interception so far this season. I know he has 2 fumble losses, but here with a good matchup at the Atlanta Falcons, I think Stroud could take advantage of this defense a little bit. Him and Nico Collins have had some chemistry so far in the early going. Tank Dell, we've seen have some good ball games. Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz, it was good to see him find the end zone last week. And this Falcon team, they're pretty good versus the run. So this week here, I think it's a game with hands once again, where if they want to win it, he's going to have to win it for them. And this week here, I think he puts in a good performance. And I got him at 12. Number 13, Brock Purdy of the San Francisco 49ers. So Brock Purdy, so far this season, he's been a solid quarterback. And pretty much each and every week you can pencil him in for 200 yards and at least 2 touchdowns. This week, no doubt about it, a tough matchup versus one of the better defenses in the league in the Dallas Cowboys coming to town over here in San Francisco. But I think Purdy still could put on decent numbers. Obviously, this week isn't a great matchup, like I mentioned, but this guy plays like he's been in the league for 10 seasons. Another guy, you don't turn the football over. Completion rate is through the roof. Last week, I believe, one incompletion he had the whole ball game. Even though I know it's Arizona, it's still a professional team, and he went out there and got it. So this week with a tough matchup, I still believe in Purdy as a decent option with good weapons like Debo, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, obviously coming off a 4-touchdown game. So right now with all these weapons and the San Francisco team having the Cowboys number over the last few seasons, I got Purdy as a serviceable quarterback, and I got him at 13, number 14, Sam Howell of the Washington Commanders. So Sam Howell, he's been pretty decent this season here for this Commander team. I know he had one bad ball game in week 2 in terms of fantasy points, but besides that, he's at 18 or more fantasy points all the other weeks so far in this season. So this week, a good matchup Thursday Night Football. Most likely going to be a shootout with the Chicago Bears coming to town, one of the worst secondaries in the league. And he's got pretty solid weapons, obviously. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, even though it's been a struggle for him this season, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, he's made some plays this year as well. And out of the backfield, Brian Robinson. So right now, Howell, we know he's a gunslinger. We know he turns the football over, but he puts up some fantasy points as well and some yards. So right now, in 2 quarterback leagues or 14-team leagues, I think he's a good play this week. And I got him in 14th, and the 15th and final quarterback I'm ranking this week here is Joshua Dobbs of the Arizona Cardinals. So Joshua Dobbs, he's played great football this season, besides one bad ball game as well for him in the early going. So Dobbs, he got an opportunity after bouncing around the league on practice squads, 3rd-string quarterback. I know he had a chance last year with the Titans, but didn't show much in that one. But right now, he's comfortable in this offense with this Cardinal team. Zach Ertz playing well, Hollywood Brown playing well, the rookie Michael Wilson emerging as well in this offense. So right now, there's some things going on and Connor in the backfield for Arizona where, to be honest, a lot of people counted this Arizona team not making noise and not doing much. I know they're 1-3 on the season here, but they've been in pretty much all the ball games for the most part. They blew that one versus the Giants, and they were close with San Francisco until late 3rd quarter. So right now, Dobbs playing good football. He can run the football pretty well, and this is a pretty good matchup versus Cincinnati Bengals, where their defense is just hit or miss week in and week out. So right now, with a home game and with all the things I mentioned, I think Dobbs could be a top 15 quarterback this week. So that's the top 15 quarterbacks I'm ranking here for week 5 of the fantasy football season.